viongozi wetu, tujitoe wenyewe, tusimame pamoja kulinda uhuru na umoja wetu. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote, tuimbe pamoja, kuenzi shikamano hatima yetu. Tujitoe wenyewe kupambana pamoja, uhuru na umoja vitawale. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima. Tuungane sote na tujibidishe kutoa kilicho bora kwa Afrika, chimbuko la wanadamu, chemchemi ya utamaduni, tumaini letu wakati wa mafarakano. Enyi bwana na binti wa Afrika, mwili wa jua, mwili wa anga, tuifanye Afrika mti wa uzima.
Let us make Africa the tree of life. And of course, Africa is the tree of life. My name is Katam Mukasa. I'm Ugandan, interested in issues, human rights, issues, environment concerns, and of course, food security and food safety issues. Join us at Human TV Africa. We are a charity NGO registered to do this very work. That is our handle at Human TV Africa. And of course, our Facebook name is Human TV Africa. But also, send us an email. Our spokesperson will be able to respond to you. That is info@humanstvafrica.com. And the WhatsApp number is right there. We have studios in Uganda, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, UK, and the US. And we are opening up more studios in other countries. We thank our viewers for supporting this initiative. Right here, we are here to discuss food security concerns. This is episode 4. If you have missed any of our episodes, please go back into the archives and watch these episodes. Remember, we have the best experts in Africa to discuss this issue. Of course, Mr. Kimera Henry, was one of my facilitators several years ago when I was on a scholarship from the Germans to study leadership. And of course, leadership goes hand in hand with training people to defend their rights. So Mr. Kimera right there was a facilitator in that program. He has been doing that work for quite a number of years. That's why we have him here. He's the food security expert, a human rights expert that I know I can vouch for in Africa. And of course, alongside him is Comrade Bernard Bambale, who is also a Ugandan food expert, human rights defender, nutrition expert. He will tell us more about himself. Of course, he told us about himself the other time. And please go back if you watched or missed our shows. Please go back and see those shows are very important. Now, today we're talking about food safety concerns. Street-vended Foods episode 4. This is very, very, very important item we are discussing, especially because I am can I say a foodie? I'm an eater of street foods. So I always confess here, I have very poor eating habits. I go on the streets, I buy foods on the streets. I'm really typical African. I don't tell lies. I tell you, I buy food on the streets. When I was at the university, I used to eat food strictly on the streets. So let us talk about food security. But of course, street-vended foods in Africa. In the world, not so much. But in Africa, I tell you, I've been to many African countries. These foods are there on the streets. I'm here. I'm a consumer of food sold on the streets. Now, let us hear the experts telling us about these challenges, safety concerns, and of course the consequences of eating these foods. I will start with Mr. Henry Kimera to give us a recap for the last show, but also usher us into this new episode. Mr. Kimera, most welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Paul. We are greatly honored, as with all my colleagues. I would say many hats I wear, but as I wear those hats, I'm greatly honored to always share the experience that comes in with more than 28 years of engaging in consumer advocacy. And today, I am honored, and we would like to thank the Humanist Africa TV for bringing us together. Kato, with all your team, as a Luganda saying is, Gava Mukuria, it all comes from consuming. That's why you are vibrant with all the studios and everywhere. And all colleagues listening to us, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, but keep awake and listen to us. I know those that are in the US, they are just waking up, and the others are picking up or others are still sleeping, and they are picking up their foods or their snacks from the street as they go home. Those that are going to have a late hitting of the bed. Those in Eastern global world, they are awake or they are going into late in the night and so forth. So, colleagues, episode 3, and I would like to say thank you for viewing. I'm told it was explosive, and it was good that we talked more food governance and the food environment, and we were talking about the leaderships in our respective countries, talking about food being a political weapon, being a political game, but food shouldn't be treated like a commodity. It should be treated as a means for humanity. Food is what makes us live, like the environment in which it is produced. So we shouldn't play around with food. We should respect it and all the facets that are enabling us have that food. It is very key to look at food from a systematic approach rather than looking at it only on the plate. I always say, have the pleasure on the plate, but safety in the mind. What brings the processed food goes through before it gets onto the plate. That is called a system, brings it. But that system is enabled by policies, legal frameworks, institutional and regulatory institutional frameworks. And all these are enabled by governance. The quality of governance provides you the quality of food. If you are a father in the home and you do not respect food, if you are a mother in the home and you don't respect food, the kind of food your children will have or your family will have will also be of poor quality. But once you respect it, then that manifests in the kind of children you have at home and in the kind of parent you are. And this also goes to the leadership of the nations. If the leadership of a nation cares about its citizens, it will make sure that investments in having quality food are adequately made. As food is medicine, make sure that the communities, the citizens do not get stunted, they are not malnourished, as we appreciate. Bernard shared with us, nutrition is very key. Being nutritionally poor, nutritional poverty is something that is impeding growth of a nation. food poverty is an issue that is affecting the growth and sustainable growth of a nation. So, colleagues, today, like we appreciated last episode, consumers play a very important role. They are big drivers with regards to food. Markets are there because of consumers. And once the consumers, we know our role, we can turn around many things. As consumers, we are the biggest socioeconomic grouping that sustains businesses, that sustains economies. If we vote with our wallets, businesses can collapse, businesses will not pay taxes, and governments too can collapse. So we are an important segment, and we need to speak out when we are served wrongly. Every aspect of humanity is operating because of us. Climate change is there because whoever is abusing the environment says, I am producing for the market. So we, the consumers they are producing for, we also need to be cognizant that the vagaries affecting us due to climate change are done in the name of us. So it is important that we start talking about responsible production. As today we are going to talk about responsible street foods. So we would like to see to it as we talk about street foods, they are given to us in a responsible manner. So I would like to end up my recap with a quote that I like, and it is used elsewhere, which says consumers are a powerful force for change towards more sustainable and equitable food systems. Their behavior make a difference. So our behavior can turn around quite a lot. And today, we would like to talk about the environment from which Kato picks up his food on a daily basis. And I would like to say that we all pick a snack, we pick a bite from the street. Unfortunately, there are a number of local governments or even governments that want to crash street foods, but which is wrong. These foods are affordable, they are accessible, and they are available. Majority of the global population, some of us, we live below average, and we can't afford a $10, $20, a 30 to 50. Other people have a meal of $1,000. But with us, we want a meal of less than $3 or $2. Paul might be going in for a $5 sandwich, but or pounds. But the issue is, how should that food be presented to us? We eat it so that we are living. So the street foods, in whatever form, this is what we would like to discuss today. And colleagues, I would like in your respective countries to make sure that we call to action to have the street food in a presentable manner, rather than the businesses that are providing us the street food to be chased off. And they go, once they go underground, then we are going to get far worse poor quality food. So we need to make sure that we call to action our respective duty bearers to take care of the street food in the manner that is making the urban, peri-urban. There is even trading center urban, because many places are getting urbanized. When you go to Ruengo, you'll find that a few villages off Mbirizi towards whatever direction you take, the trading centers are urbanized. People, even those that have got farms or gardens, in case they don't get a meal from the garden, they will come to the trading center to grab a street food. So this is how what we are discussing today is very important. It's not only for the urban consumers or even peri-urban, it is also for the rural consumers, given the vagaries of climate change, given the vagaries of land grabbing, given the vagaries of changing season and food fraud, input fraud, and poor quality service delivery. People end up eating street foods. Thank you very much. I think that is enough as a curtain riser to bring an appetizer like one of the bites Paul will receive after or go and grab after the show. But that bite, Paul, should be got from a clean personnel, a clean place. We are going to see photos of where we access food. Should be nutritious and should be medicinal in that it keeps you strong so that you host us for many other episodes. Thank you very much.
Let me first laugh at myself, but I have to thank you so much for. I'm laughing at myself because I'm a big time street food buyer. But before I bring in Bernard, let me give you this experience. You talked about my hometown in Birizi. We come from the same area, that side. Now, when I was growing up, my mother had a big a big clinic in Birizi town. There was 87, 88, 89, 90. And I was in Birizi town. We had a big clinic. We had our house there. We were settled there. Now, because I was ambitious, I wanted to buy a radio cassette for myself in 90. Because I'm the sixth born in my family and I was the youngest boy. I'm a twin, but I was the smallest and the youngest. Now, my bigger sibling bullied me when it came to using the home radio cassette. And I couldn't tolerate it. So I said, okay, I'm going to work and buy my own. Because they could slap me, they could kick me because of break dance. That time there was Michael Jackson and that kind of thing. Now, what I did is that I went to the neighbor, Mama Stella. I'm talking about in Birizi town, which you know, quite big now. I went there and told her, please, I want a job. And which job was to vend pancakes. So I became a street vendor for pancakes. I would leave school at 6, go home, eat my food, and then be on the road from about 6:20, 6:30, sell pancakes up to about 8 p.m. And my mother could open, why are you selling pancakes? Everything is there at home. I told her I'm making my own money because there's something I'm targeting. So I worked for about 3 months, working in the evening, then still in the holiday, and I made money and I bought my first radio. It was in 1990. But out of vending street food for a neighbor, Mama Stella, and that was pancakes. Now, I have an experience not only eating it, but also selling it. I should give you another example. Whenever I'm traveling to Mbarara or to Rengo, up country, I always make sure that I have a stop at Namaojolo, or I have a stop at Nkokonde, whatever, those stopping points where you go and stop and buy muchomo. When I'm going to Masaka, it's I think Rukaya, I have to stop there, buy this muchomo and eat. When I'm going to Gulu, I've gone to Gulu several times to do work. I've gone to Lira several times to do work. I always buy cassava. I have their cassava on the streets. I don't know whether you guys have ever eaten it. I love cassava. The way those people in Gulu, in the north, make their cassava, the one they sell on the streets, is so good. I don't know how I can't even tell how they prepare it. I should tell you, I'm a supporter of street foods. I have a very nasty experience I will not share right now, but I should say, yes, I've been selling street food when I was a kid to get money to buy a radio. I sold street food for about 5 months, but also I'm a big time buyer of street foods. Now, the question is to Bernard. Tell me, what's wrong with me eating my muchomo on the streets? On the yeah, on the streets. What's wrong with me buying a piece of chicken, buying cassava, buying maize? Because I've been buying it. Tell me, and educate most of us. When I was in Kenya, Kenya has a very unique system. They sell maize in bits, not the full. That is called a cob, not the full one,
Yes.
but they cut it in small pieces, roasted ones. And I think they call it bob, 10 bob, 5 bob, 20 bob, like that. And I was a good buyer of that maize in Kenya. So in brief, I buy chapatis, I buy chicken, I buy chips, almost everything from the streets. So tell me, am I in danger? What's wrong with the street foods, Mr. Bernard?
All right. So, well, thank you so much, Mukasa, for really giving us some bit of your experience, and Henry for taking us through uh, the previous discussions we've had. One is that I have to be honest that street food, it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be very bad for you to actually even think about leaving it. But I also want to share with you where this originates from. If I want to give you some bit of scenarios for us to learn, when you're traveling from Kasese, where I come from, and you're coming to Kampala,
Mm.
you realize that people will travel all the way from Kasese to Mubende, and there's no one vomiting.
Yeah.
Now, the distance between Mubende and Kampala, when you're in the bus, now you start realizing that actually people start vomiting. I don't know
Yeah.
whether you've had this experiences.
I've had that experience.
Okay, so similarly, when you live in Kampala, you move from Kampala to Mubende, and there's no one vomiting. Now, when you start from Mubende going to Kasese, now you see hundreds of people, children, women, vomiting. Now, you would ask yourself, what has happened in between there? So one of the risk
Mm.
factors is the consumption of food at that spot in Mubende. Of course, I'm giving Mubende as an example. That's where
Yeah.
in Uganda, the people who are traveling
Mm.
from Kasese eat from. Similarly, when you're going to other places where you find a lot of food, people start vomiting thereafter, meaning that there has been probably food poisoning happening after consumption of that street food. Now, the truth is that street food cannot be avoided because each one of us, each one of us grabs something from the street. But the question is, what are the provisions for you to have a street food vending site?
Mm.
In the Public Health Act, it is very illegal for somebody to have, actually, it is illegal to have street food. But then we've come up with guidelines for establishment of street food. And one of the guidelines is that the authority of a particular district or a country is supposed to establish a place where street food vendors can actually prepare food. Now, the question will be, how many of our governments have designated such places where people can actually sell food? That should be now a question of governance,
Mm.
because it is mandated that a country government should establish those places where street food vendors can actually prepare food, which food then should be safe for the consumer to eat. But in principle, if you come to Uganda, street food is sold anywhere, which is actually now the illegal bit of it. How does it become a problem? There is a lot of what we call cross contamination in those
Mm.
places where food is being sold. For example, now I'm taking you back to Mukasa where you eat from,
Mm.
where you're eating from now. Let us go to a stall. Each and every stall is supposed to have two people. That is the code of practice. There should be two
Okay.
people at every stall. Now, what do these two people do? One of the vendors, one of the guys there should be now handling food in terms of preparing the food. He's the guy making chapati. He's the one, and then the other guy is handling.
Yeah, we are having a technical glitch there, but we are having a look at the photos.
So that should be the principle. The other one is handling.
Yes, we are looking at the photos showing street vending food, street vended food right there on the screen. As Bernard is catching up with us, network sometimes is an issue. Connectivity. Remember, this is a live show. We are live on air, and right now in the studios we are seeing photos of street vended food. Bernard says there must be two people at each stall to ensure safety of these foods being sold. But the question is, do these people abide by the rules? Look at them. We always buy these tomatoes right from these dirty environments. Look at the tomatoes. Look at how they are flying our food right there. I think this environment is completely dirty. I agree with Bernard. The environment is dirty. It's not safe for our food. Look at those tomatoes. If you boil those tomatoes and you eat them right away, are they safe? Look at the garbage right there in the environment where these tomatoes are being sold. And look at the kitchen right there on your left hand side. Look at that photo of that food being sold there. Is that food safe? Is the question we are asking ourselves. Let's give us more of these photos. Look what this guy is preparing chapatis and bread on your left. If you are looking on your screen, he's sleeping literally on what is being produced. Now, this is dangerous. This is dangerous. This is illegal, and this is not good for our safety. Look at this market in Mbale, and look at the garbage, which is littered alongside. Actually, it's a drainage in my view. You can see there's garbage there, there's a trench there, and then we are supposed to eat this food cooked right near this trench full of rubbish, full of lots of dangerous hazards from the toilets. Now, this food cannot be safe, honestly, and the toilets themselves are not safe at all. Now, this is an example of dirty food or contamination, as Bernard has been saying. Bernard, we are back on air, and we can proceed with you. Bernard, back to you. Bernard, if you can hear me, back to you. Or Mr. Kimera can come in. Yeah, Mr. Kimera can come in. Dennis, take us back to the photos. And I will continue explaining the photos as my colleagues get back connectivity. Dennis, if you can give us the photos on Food Street, and more of this, we have been able to explain these photos. You can see how unhygienic these foods are in much of the places we go to eat food from in Africa. It's not really clean. You can see the drainage system there, the toilets down there, and then all these are contaminating our foods. Of course, the experts are going to tell us which diseases do we get by eating these contaminated foods. Of course, Bernard talked about vomiting. I was a victim of vomiting, I should tell you. At one point, I ate grasshoppers. I ate grasshoppers in one of the buses. I want to mention the buses to keep their dignity. But I ate food from a bus. This bus was going to Mbarara, and I was going to Mbarara at that time. And it stopped somewhere. And this guy came with grasshoppers, and I love eating grasshoppers, and I ate them, but hardly had I eaten them. In about 30 minutes, I was having stomach pains, and I vomited for the first time in a bus, or because I had a handkerchief and all that stuff, and I had a very nasty experience having stomach upset in a bus. Remember, there are no toilets, there are no facilities, so you have to continue holding on your stomach. It was really terrible. I vowed not to eat grasshoppers on the bus. The rest I can still try. The gonja I can still try. Let's go back to you.